The pen trembles in Barbara Hastings' hand as her daughter pushes papers across the sunroom table. Above, autumn light filters through lace curtains Frank hung 20 years ago. Below, through an old heating grate most people forgot existed, every word travels perfectly to the workshop where her late husband once listened to records and documented everything in color-coded notebooks. Jennifer's voice is loud, patronizing, the tone you'd use with a confused child. "Just sign, Mom. Then we can get you somewhere they'll take proper care of you." For 6 months, Barbara has lived in a fog of medications she didn't need. Watching her own life disappear behind a pharmaceutical curtain, her daughter and son-in-law, a physician with his own ethical complications, moved in after Frank's sudden death, claiming to help. But help looked like isolation, like 5 prescription bottles that turned coherent grief into vacant confusion. Like an estranged son blocked from visiting, and a trust fund that would pass entirely to Jennifer the moment Barbara was declared incompetent. The attorney waits. The witnesses watch. The room feels inevitable. But Barbara's caregiver, a young immigrant Jennifer hired because she thought his visa problems made him controllable, has been secretly diluting those medications for days. And the elderly widower from across the street, the one who brought soup and received a desperate Morse code message tapped into his palm, is positioned in that workshop right now, recording everything. Have you ever watched someone underestimate a person they thought was powerless? Stay with us to witness how a 72-year-old woman found her voice again, and how 3 unlikely allies transformed one engineer's obsessive documentation into a lifeline that would protect far more than just one family. Because sometimes the most powerful words aren't written in a will. They're spoken by someone everyone assumed had nothing left to say. The tutor's beveled glass door distorted Jennifer's face into something angular and sharp. Appropriate, Mateo thought, for a woman who'd spent their 10-minute phone interview cataloging his vulnerabilities. Work visa complications. Previous employers' concerns. Her mother's deteriorating condition requiring someone flexible and discreet. The door swung open. Jennifer Hastings Morrison wore athleisure-like armor, her smile calibrated somewhere between welcoming and warning. "You're punctual." "Good." She stepped aside without offering her hand. "My mother's having a difficult morning." Don't take anything she says personally. The house smelled of lemon polish and something medicinal Mateo couldn't place. Jennifer led him through rooms that felt staged, throw pillows arranged just so, family photos positioned at precise angles. Through a sunroom's lace curtains, autumn light fell across an empty chair that still held the shape of whoever usually sat there. "Mom has rapid onset dementia," Jennifer said, her voice carrying the rehearsed quality of a speech given too many times. "Since Dad died 6 months ago, she's become confused about what's real." She paused at the base of a staircase, one hand on the newel post. "She might say things, accusations. It's the disease, not malice." Mateo had heard these warnings before, in other homes, from other families. Sometimes they were true. Barbara Hastings sat propped against pillows in a bedroom where sunlight struggled through heavy drapes. Her hair, white and fine, spread across the pillow like frost. But it was her eyes that stopped him, glassy, unfocused, yet somehow desperate beneath the pharmaceutical haze. "Mom?" Jennifer's voice rose loud and slow. "This is Mateo. He'll be helping with your care." Barbara's gaze drifted past her daughter, landing somewhere in the middle distance. "See what I mean?" Jennifer gestured at 5 prescription bottles lined up on the nightstand like chess pieces. "She takes these 4 times daily: breakfast, lunch, dinner, bedtime. Don't let her skip doses. She gets agitated. She checked her watch. I work from home, so I'm always available if you need anything. Which means I'm always watching too. The last part wasn't a reassurance. After Jennifer left, Mateo sat in the chair beside Barbara's bed and began his assessment. Vital signs normal. Pupils responsive but sluggish. When he checked the prescription bottles, his stomach tightened. Lorazepam, quetiapine, trazodone, haloperidol, zolpidem, all prescribed by Dr. Craig Morrison, Jennifer's husband, in doses that would sedate a much larger person. Can you hear me, Mrs. Hastings? Nothing. He began to stand. Her hands shot out, fingers clamping around his wrist with surprising strength. For a moment, her eyes cleared like clouds breaking. They're poisoning me. The words came out distinct, urgent. Then her grip loosened. Her gaze went slack, and she slumped back against the pillows as if the clarity had cost her everything. Mateo's pulse hammered. He'd been raised by Lola, his grandmother, in a Manila apartment where she worked 3 jobs to send him to nursing school. He knew what real dementia looked like: the gradual fade, the personality shifts, the long goodbye. This wasn't that. Through the window, he watched a silver-haired man across the street standing at his own window, looking back. For a moment, their eyes met across the distance. Then the man turned away. Mateo picked up Barbara's chart, noting the dosage schedule. 4 times daily, every day for 6 months. In the hall, Jennifer's voice drifted up the stairs, sharp-edged and satisfied. Yes, he seems perfect. Exactly what we need. Morning light caught the pill bottles like stained glass, amber and white, a pharmacological rainbow. Mateo shook 2 tablets into his palm, watched them catch the sun. Haloperidol, 5 mg. For Barbara's agitation. He'd seen this drug in nursing homes, watched it turn vibrant personalities into shadows. Time for breakfast medication, Mrs. Hastings. Barbara sat at the kitchen table, hands folded in her lap like a child awaiting instruction. Jennifer stood by the coffee maker, ostensibly focused on her laptop, but tracking every movement in her peripheral vision. The pills felt heavy in Mateo's palm. He filled the water glass, brought it to Barbara's lips. She swallowed obediently, mouth opening for inspection afterward. A learned behavior that made his chest ache. 60 minutes later, the change was undeniable. Barbara's shoulders slumped, her gaze unfocused. When Jennifer asked if she wanted toast, Barbara stared at her daughter as if the words were in a foreign language. But between doses, there, the pattern revealed itself. At 10:47 a.m., while Jennifer took a conference call upstairs, Barbara turned her head toward the window. Her eyes tracked a cardinal's flight across the yard with perfect clarity. Her lips moved, forming words. Frank would have liked that bird. By 11:15, the fog had returned, rolling in like coastal weather. But for 28 minutes, Barbara Hastings had been present, aware, herself. Mateo spent lunch documenting what he'd observed. Times, behaviors. The correlation between medication administration and cognitive decline. He'd learned this thoroughness from Lola, who'd kept meticulous records of her patients' care because she'd said, "When you have no power, precision becomes your weapon." Dr. Craig Morrison arrived at 1 p.m., his presence filling the doorframe before he entered. Tall, graying at the temples, with the kind of confidence that came from years of being believed without question. How's our patient today? Our patient. As if Barbara belonged to them. Stable, Mateo said. Because what else could he say? Your wife is systematically drugging her mother into incompetence? Craig flipped through Barbara's chart, adding notes in handwriting so poor it could have said anything. Continue current regimen. If she seems agitated, call me immediately. We may need to adjust dosages. Adjust upward, Matteo understood. Increase the fog. That evening, Matteo made his first real decision. When Jennifer handed him Barbara's bedtime medications, the full cocktail designed to ensure 8 hours of pharmaceutical unconsciousness, he palmed the pills with the sleight of hand Lola had taught him for dealing with patients who needed to spit out medications secretly. In the bathroom, he replaced them with aspirin from his own bottle, carefully cut to approximate size. The real pills went into a plastic bag in his jacket pocket. Evidence? Protection. Insurance against the moment Jennifer discovered his rebellion. He stayed late, monitoring Barbara's sleep. Without the sedatives, her rest looked different. Natural cycles of REM and stillness, not the drugged flatline Jennifer expected. Tuesday morning, Barbara woke asking for coffee. The way Frank made it, 3/4 full, room for milk, heated for exactly 90 seconds. Jennifer, hearing this from the doorway, went very still. "She's never this clear in the mornings," she said, and Matteo heard the question underneath. "What did you do?" "Maybe grief has cycles," he offered, his voice steady despite his racing pulse. "Good days and bad days." Jennifer studied him the way a hawk studies movement in tall grass. Then she smiled, and it was worse than her suspicion. "You're probably right. Still, let's make sure she gets her full morning dose today. All of it. I'll watch." That afternoon, Matteo stood at Barbara's window, looking across the street at the house where the silver-haired man lived. The man stood in his own window, looking back. They didn't wave, didn't acknowledge each other. But something passed between them anyway. The recognition of two people who'd noticed the same wrong thing and were trying to decide whether witnessing was enough. Wednesday morning, Matteo diluted Barbara's liquid medications at the kitchen sink while Jennifer showered upstairs. 50% water, 50% sedative, enough to maintain appearances, insufficient to erase her mind. The pills were trickier. He'd spent Tuesday night at a pharmacy, matching colors and shapes, building an arsenal of plausible substitutes. His hands trembled as he worked. One mistake, one inconsistency Jennifer noticed, and he'd be gone. Deported, probably. His siblings in Manila depended on the money he sent home. But Lola's voice echoed in his memory. If you can help, and you don't, you become part of the harm. By Wednesday afternoon, the accumulated clarity in Barbara's eyes was unmistakable. She tracked conversations, responded to questions, asked for things by name, and she talked about Frank. He was meticulous, Barbara said, her voice stronger than Matteo had heard it. They sat in the sunroom, autumn light making her white hair glow. Kept notebooks for everything, color-coded. The blue ones were household repairs, green for finances, red for... She paused, frowning. Red for problems, things that worried him. What kind of problems? Jennifer. The name came out like an apology. He documented what she did to my mother. Bank statements, forged checks, everything. I wouldn't let him report it. She's my daughter. I thought... Her clarity wavered, words dissolving into confusion. But she'd said enough. Matteo filed it away, read notebooks, Frank's workshop, Jennifer's theft. Jennifer arrived home at 4, designer bags from her errands piled in her arms. She stopped in the sunroom doorway, studying her mother's improved affect with narrowed eyes. You seem better today, Mom. Do I? Barbara's confusion wasn't entirely manufactured now. The afternoon medication, even diluted, was taking hold. Jennifer turned to Mateo. "What are you doing differently?" "Nothing. Same routine, same medications, same schedule." The lie came easily because it had to. "Interesting." Jennifer set down her bags. "Craig thinks we should increase her evening dose. She's been restless at night, apparently." Mateo kept his expression neutral. "I haven't noticed restlessness. Her sleep patterns seem normal." "Well, Craig's the doctor." The words carried weight, his authority against yours. "We'll start the new dosage tonight." After Jennifer left, Barbara gripped Mateo's hand with sudden strength. "Jennifer needs me to sign papers. Don't let her." The words tumbled out urgent and clear. Frank knew what she did. Can't let her win. Then she pointed at the floor, at an ornate heating grate Mateo had barely noticed. Everything echoes to Frank's workshop. He used to listen to records down there. Sometimes I'd talk to him through the floor and he'd hear me perfectly. She tapped the grate with her foot, and the metallic ring resonated downward into darkness. "The room remembers," Barbara whispered, "even when we forget." Arthur Chen had perfected the art of invisible vigilance. From his living room window, positioned just behind the sheer curtains Marie had hung the year before she died, he could observe the entire cul-de-sac without being observed himself. It was a widower's hobby, this watching. Gave structure to empty days. But watching the Hastings house had become something else entirely. He'd known Barbara and Frank for 30 years. Marie and Barbara had been inseparable. Book clubs, garden tours. The kind of friendship that didn't require constant maintenance because the foundation was solid. At Marie's funeral 8 months ago, Barbara had held Arthur's hand and shared grief that felt crystalline, sharp, utterly coherent. Then Frank died in July. Sudden heart attack, the neighborhood gossip reported. Within 2 weeks, Jennifer's car appeared in the driveway. Within 4, Barbara stopped appearing in her garden. By August, Arthur never saw her outside at all. Rapid dementia, Jennifer told concerned neighbors. It happens sometimes after loss. She's better off inside where we can monitor her. But Arthur had spent 40 years as a court reporter, watching people lie under oath. Jennifer's concern performed too perfectly, like a rehearsed testimony. Thursday afternoon, he watched Jennifer and Craig argue on the porch, their body language aggressive despite the smiling faces they maintained for passing joggers. That evening, he saw the young caregiver walk Barbara slowly through the garden. She looked up at the sky, and even from across the street, Arthur recognized lucidity in that gesture. Wonder, presence. Friday morning, he made chicken soup from Marie's recipe. The one she'd made for every sick neighbor, every difficult week, every moment that required comfort without words. He hadn't cooked it since her death. The kitchen filled with her absence and her presence simultaneously. Jennifer answered the door with polished suspicion. "Arthur, this is unexpected." "Made too much soup. Thought Barbara might like some." He held up the container, still warm. Marie's recipe. She always said it helped. Something flickered across Jennifer's face. Calculation, perhaps. Weighing the social cost of refusing against the risk of allowing access. Appearances 1. 5 minutes. She tires easily. The sunroom was exactly as he remembered from decades of neighborhood gatherings, except emptier somehow. Barbara sat in Frank's old chair, and when she saw Arthur, her whole face transformed. "Arthur?" His name came out clear, glad. "Marie's soup? I thought you might..." Jennifer's phone rang. She glanced at the screen, then at Arthur. 5 minutes, she repeated, stepping into the hall. The moment she disappeared, Barbara grabbed Arthur's hand. her fingers pressed against his palm in a specific rhythm, 3 short pulses, 3 long, 3 short. The pattern Marie had taught them during neighborhood game nights years ago, when learning Morse code had seemed like harmless fun. SOS. Arthur's blood froze. Barbara's eyes held his, perfectly clear, desperately sane. Then Jennifer's footsteps returned, and Barbara's expression went slack, confused, lost. "Time's up," Jennifer said brightly. "Thanks for stopping by." Arthur walked home on autopilot, his hands still feeling those 3 pulsed patterns. In his living room, he stood at the window and waited. When the young caregiver left that evening, Arthur was already reaching for his jacket. Mateo's shift ended at 6, but he walked slowly down the cul-de-sac, delaying the moment he'd cross into Jennifer's surveillance shadow. The evening air carried autumn's sharpness, and across the street, a porch light flickered on. "Excuse me." The voice belonged to the silver-haired man from the window. Up close, Arthur Chen looked frailer than he had from a distance. Stooped shoulders, age-spotted hands. But his eyes held an alertness that reminded Mateo of Lola. "I'm Arthur, from across the street." He gestured at his house. "I was wondering if we could talk about Barbara." Every instinct Mateo had developed in 3 years of precarious visa status screamed caution. But something in Arthur's face, the same recognition Mateo had felt watching through windows, made him nod. Arthur's kitchen smelled of tea and loneliness. Photos lined the walls. Arthur and an elegant woman at various ages, always together, never with children. The woman wore Barbara's smile in several pictures, their arms linked like sisters. "That's Marie, my wife." Arthur filled a kettle without asking if Mateo wanted tea. She and Barbara were best friends for 30 years. Marie died 8 months ago. Cancer. He set out cups with shaking hands. At her funeral, Barbara was herself. Sharp, present, grieving, yes, but coherent. Mateo waited. Then Frank died in July. Within 2 weeks, Jennifer moved in. Within 4, Barbara stopped appearing outside. The few times I've seen her since, Arthur's voice cracked. Today she gave me a signal. Marie taught us Morse code years ago, during neighborhood game nights. Barbara tapped SOS into my palm. The kettle whistled. Neither man moved to silence it. "What's happening to her?" Arthur asked. Mateo made a decision that would change everything or destroy him. He pulled the plastic bag from his jacket, 5 days of collected pills, carefully labeled with dates and times. "She's being drugged, systematically. These are what she's supposed to be taking. I've been replacing them." Arthur studied the pills with the focus of someone accustomed to examining evidence. "All prescribed by Craig Morrison? Jennifer's husband. He's a physician." "I know." Arthur's mouth tightened. He had medical board complaints, settled quietly, overprescribing. He looked up. "How lucid is she when you don't give her these? Clear enough to tell me Jennifer wants her to sign papers. Clear enough to mention Frank's workshop and something about notebooks. Clear enough to say Frank documented something Jennifer did to Barbara's mother." Arthur stood abruptly, walking to his window. Across the street, lights glowed in the Tudor house. Barbara's prison dressed as home. Frank was meticulous, Arthur said. Kept engineering notebooks, color-coded systems. He used to listen to records in his workshop, and we'd hear them throughout the house through the heating vents. The acoustics in that place. He turned back. "Barbara has a son, Michael. I haven't seen him since Frank's funeral. Jennifer claimed Barbara found him too upsetting. She mentioned Michael once, said Jennifer was trying to disinherit him. Of course she is. Arthur's jaw set with sudden determination. Tomorrow morning, Jennifer and Craig go to church. Every Saturday, 10 a.m., maintaining appearances. Can you get me into the house? Why? Because Frank's workshop is directly under the sunroom. And if Barbara says everything echoes down there, I believe her. Arthur met Mateo's eyes. We're going to need evidence, real evidence, the kind that stands up in court. Saturday afternoon light flooded Frank's workshop through high windows Barbara had forgotten existed. Dust motes danced above organized chaos. Labeled boxes stacked with military precision, color-coded notebooks lined up like soldiers, and in the corner, a vintage reel-to-reel tape recorder that looked like it belonged in a museum. Arthur ran his fingers along the equipment with the reverence of someone reuniting with an old friend. Frank and I used to record neighborhood gatherings, Marie singing, barbecue conversations. He understood sound, knew exactly how voices traveled through this house. Barbara sat in Frank's old chair, the clarity in her eyes both gift and burden. 4 hours without heavy medication, and the world had edges again. Sharp, sometimes painful edges. Tell them, Mateo urged gently. Tell them everything. So she did. The words came haltingly at first, then faster, like a dam breaking. Jennifer's power of attorney over Barbara's mother 5 years ago. The systematic draining of accounts, 50,000, then 80, and then everything. Frank's discovery of forged signatures, falsified receipts, money transferred to accounts Jennifer thought were untraceable. Frank documented it all. Barbara's voice wavered. Bank statements, handwriting analysis, everything. He wanted to report her, but She stopped, shame flooding her face. She's my daughter. I thought love could fix her. That if we just showed her grace, she'd change. Where's the evidence? Arthur asked, his court reporter instincts taking over. Barbara pointed at the Purple Heart case on Frank's workbench. The medal he'd earned in Vietnam, kept in a simple wooden box. The key's inside. He hid it there because he knew Jennifer would never look. She always thought his military service was embarrassing, something to minimize at parties. Inside the case, beneath the medal, a small brass key. The locked filing cabinet opened to reveal Frank's life's work. 40 years of meticulous documentation. Green notebooks for finances, their finances, tracked to the penny. Blue for home repairs and maintenance, red for problems. The red notebooks told Jennifer's story in Frank's precise engineering script. Dates, times, account numbers. But the most recent red notebook, dated this year, documented something worse. Forged checks on Frank and Barbara's accounts. Small amounts at first, 500, 800, then escalating. The last entry was 3 days before Frank's death. Confronted Jay about checks. She denied everything. Going to bank Monday for fraud report. Frank died Sunday night. He was building a second case, Barbara whispered. Jennifer must have known. Craig has access to medications that she couldn't finish. Arthur photographed every page with methodical precision, his hands steady despite his age. Mateo documented the filing system, creating a digital backup of Frank's analog protection. Monday morning arrived with Jennifer's cold announcement. The attorney's coming Thursday. We're updating Mom's estate planning. You'll need to be here, Mateo, to witness her signature. Not a request, a command. After Jennifer left the room, Barbara gripped Mateo's hand with sudden strength. Frank's recorder still works. He tested it every month, kept everything maintained. The workshop hears everything that happens in the sunroom above. He used to listen to records down there, and I'd hear them perfectly upstairs. She looked at Arthur, then Mateo, her eyes clear and determined. If she ever comes for you, Barbara said, repeating Frank's promise, the truth is here. Michael Hastings stared at his phone like it might explode. The voicemail had come from an unknown number, a man with a slight Filipino accent, claiming to be his mother's caregiver, saying Barbara needed help. It was probably Jennifer. Another trap, another humiliation. She'd spent 3 years convincing Barbara that Michael was money-hungry, cruel, manipulative. The last time he'd tried to visit, security had removed him from Frank's funeral while Jennifer whispered concerned daughter platitudes about Mom's wishes. But something in the man's voice, Mateo, he'd said his name was, carried an urgency that didn't sound like Jennifer's calculated cruelty. Michael called back. 20 minutes later, his hands shook on the steering wheel as he drove toward the neighborhood he'd avoided for 3 years. Mateo's words echoed. Drugging, isolation, coerced signatures, Thursday deadline. Each phrase had landed like a physical blow. He'd known something was wrong when Jennifer moved in so quickly after Frank's death. He'd known and done nothing, paralyzed by years of her gaslighting, conditioned to doubt his own perceptions. Arthur's house smelled like old books and green tea. The elderly man who answered looked fragile until you saw his eyes, sharp, assessing, missing nothing. Like the court reporters Michael worked with, people who'd spent careers distinguishing truth from performance. You're Michael. Not a question. Barbara talks about you, the real you, not Jennifer's version. The words nearly broke him. They sat in Arthur's kitchen, Arthur, Mateo, and Michael, comparing notes like generals planning a campaign. Mateo showed him the collected pills, explained the medication schedule. Arthur displayed photographs of Frank's red notebooks, evidence of Jennifer's embezzlement that Michael had discovered 3 years ago and tried to report. That's when she cut me off, Michael said, his voice rough. I found the bank statements, confronted her. She told Mom I was making accusations because I wanted my inheritance early. Mom believed her. Barbara's been told many lies, Arthur said gently. Jennifer's very good at weaponizing a mother's love. Michael studied Frank's documentation, his father's meticulous attempt to protect Barbara even from beyond the grave. Jennifer's married to Craig Morrison. He's had medical board complaints for overprescribing. They settled quietly, but everyone in healthcare knows. He runs a concierge practice now, wealthy elderly patients whose families want them manageable. The word hung in the air like poison. Barbara has a trust, Michael continued, pulling out his own notes. Years of working in estate planning had taught him to document everything. From her parents, substantial, nearly $2 million. Frank's estate was modest, maybe $300,000. But that trust, he looked up. That's what Jennifer's really after. It's the same one she embezzled from when Grandma was dying. And if Barbara's declared incompetent, Arthur asked. Jennifer gets everything. Power of attorney, healthcare proxy, control of the trust. And I get nothing. She'll make sure of that. Michael's jaw tightened. When's this attorney meeting? Thursday morning, 10 a.m. Michael checked his watch. That gives us 2 days. To do what? Mateo asked. To get evidence, Michael said, his voice steadying with purpose for the first time in 3 years. Real evidence, the kind that stops her. Wednesday morning arrived with a severance check and the end of pretense. After tomorrow's meeting, we'll be transitioning Mom to Greenfield Memory Care. Jennifer handed Mateo an envelope, her smile sharp as broken glass. Your services won't be needed. This covers through Friday. Generous, considering your visa complications. The threat hung unspoken. Take the money and leave quietly, or I'll make one phone call that sends you back to Manila. Mateo folded the check into his pocket, kept his expression neutral. I understand. Good. Jennifer's eyes tracked him like a predator watching prey. Mom seems unusually alert lately. I trust you've been following Craig's medication protocols exactly? Every dose, exactly as prescribed. The lie tasted like survival. After Jennifer left for her errands, always control disguised as care, Mateo found Barbara in the sunroom. The morning medications he'd given her were mostly vitamins now, but he'd had to administer a small amount of the real sedatives because Jennifer watched those doses too closely. Barbara's clarity flickered like a candle in wind. Thursday, Barbara said, the word coming out urgent. Jennifer's attorney is coming Thursday. I know, we're ready. Frank's notebooks, the red ones. He didn't just document what Jennifer did to my mother. Barbara's hands twisted in her lap. The last entries are about us, our accounts. Forged checks, small at first, $500 in March, $800 in April, $1,600 in May. Mateo leaned closer, listening. Frank confronted her 3 days before he died. Told her he was reporting everything to the bank Monday morning. Barbara's voice dropped to a whisper. He died Sunday night. Heart attack, they said. But Craig has access to medications that could... She couldn't finish. You think Craig killed Frank? I think Jennifer discovered Frank's evidence. I think she panicked. I think Craig would do anything to protect her because he's complicit in everything. Barbara looked toward Frank's workshop door. And I think if we don't stop her Thursday, I'll die too. Not quickly like Frank. Slowly in some facility where no one knows me. Where I can't speak for myself. Wednesday afternoon brought Jennifer's escalation. She appeared in Barbara's bedroom doorway with Craig, both their faces set in identical expressions of false concern. Mom seems agitated, Jennifer announced. Craig thinks we should increase her evening medications. Just until after tomorrow's meeting. We want her calm and comfortable. Barbara opened her mouth to protest, but Craig was already pulling out his prescription pad, and Mateo watched helplessly as they doubled the dosage, knowing he couldn't dilute enough to compensate without making Barbara completely incoherent. That evening, Barbara deteriorated rapidly. Words dissolved mid-sentence. Her eyes went glassy, unfocused. She reached for Mateo's hand and couldn't seem to grasp it, her fingers moving through empty air. Mateo's phone buzzed. Arthur, watching from across the street, his text brief. Something wrong? Before Mateo could respond, the doorbell rang. Jennifer answered, her irritation obvious, and Arthur's voice carried up the stairs, gentle, apologetic, perfectly played. I'm terribly sorry to bother you, but I think I left my glasses during my last visit. Just checking the sunroom? Jennifer, maintaining neighborhood appearances, couldn't refuse. Arthur's presence prevented further escalation, but as he left, meeting Mateo's eyes in the hallway, they both understood. Jennifer was accelerating. Tomorrow would be their only chance. Wednesday night, Arthur's kitchen became war room. Mateo arrived first, exhausted and frightened. Michael came 20 minutes later, carrying his paralegal's briefcase and 3 years of suppressed anger. They gathered around Arthur's table while he made tea nobody would drink, and laid out tomorrow's battle plan with the precision of someone who'd spent 40 years documenting testimony. The sunroom sits directly above Frank's workshop. Arthur unrolled the house blueprints he'd retrieved from the county clerk. Meticulous preparation, covering every angle. The heating grate creates perfect acoustics. Frank knew it. That's why he listened to records down there. The sound carried beautifully. And you can record from there? Michael asked. Both analog and digital. Frank's reel-to-reel for backup, my phone for immediate access. Chain of evidence, timestamps, everything admissible if we need it. When Jennifer hears herself on recording, Mateo started. She'll lawyer up immediately, Michael interrupted. But the attorney she hired, Preston Ward, won't stay. I've researched him. He's ethically compromised, but not stupid. The moment he realizes he's party to elder exploitation caught on tape, he'll run. Arthur nodded. Which leaves Jennifer, Craig, and Craig's colleague as witnesses. Once Ward leaves, their whole scheme collapses. But we need Barbara lucid enough to refuse. Mateo pulled out the medication schedule. Jennifer doubled her evening dose tonight. If I give her the morning medications tomorrow, even diluted, she'll be too foggy to resist. The three men sat in silence, understanding the impossible choice. Keep Barbara safe by medicating her as Jennifer expected, or risk everything by keeping her completely clear. No medications tomorrow morning, Mateo said finally. Just vitamins. She needs to be herself when she says no. Jennifer will notice, Michael warned. Let her notice. We're past hiding. Mateo's jaw set with determination. This is Barbara's one chance to reclaim her voice. I won't take that from her by keeping her drugged. Arthur studied him with something like pride. Frank would have liked you. They rehearsed scenarios. Michael explained undue influence, the legal standard Jennifer would have to overcome if she tried to enforce any documents Barbara signed under duress. Arthur walked through recording procedures, chain of custody, how to present evidence. Mateo described Barbara's medication patterns, her cycles of clarity, how long he'd need to keep her clear before the 10 a.m. meeting. I need to tell you something, Michael said as midnight approached. Tuesday, I contacted Detective Sarah Chen, Elder Abuse Unit. I've worked with her on other cases. She's good, thorough, compassionate. She's waiting for my call tomorrow. You already involved police? Mateo's fear spiked. I gave her preliminary information. She can't act without Barbara's cooperation, but she's ready. The moment Jennifer threatens criminal action against any of us, we have official authority standing by. Thursday morning arrived too quickly. Mateo entered the Tudor house at 7, his hands steady despite his racing heart. He gave Barbara vitamins and medication cups, water to swallow them down, and watched as clarity slowly returned to her eyes. By 9 a.m., Barbara sat in Frank's chair, exhausted but present. Her gaze tracked Mateo's movements, understanding everything. Jennifer appeared at 9:30, frowning at her mother's alertness, but too committed to her timeline to delay. The attorney arrives in 30 minutes. Everything's ready. Across the street, Arthur Chen unlocked the basement door with the key Barbara had given his family years ago for emergencies. This qualified. In the workshop, surrounded by Frank's organized notebooks and vintage equipment, Arthur set up both recorders. Above him, through the heating grate, he heard footsteps, voices, the meeting beginning. It was time. Preston Ward arrived at 9:58 a.m. with a leather briefcase and the smooth confidence of a man who'd stopped asking questions years ago. Jennifer greeted him at the door with Craig and a colleague. Dr. Gerald Marsh, another concierge physician who understood the value of professional courtesy and plausible deniability. They gathered in the sunroom, where autumn light fell through lace curtains onto documents that would erase Michael's existence and cement Jennifer's control. Barbara sat at the head of the table in Frank's old chair, exhausted but present in ways that made Jennifer's jaw tighten. "Mom?" Jennifer's voice rose, patronizing and loud, the tone reserved for children and the impaired. "This is Mr. Ward. He's here to help us update your papers. Simple estate planning, nothing complicated." Preston spread documents across the table with practiced efficiency. Mrs. Hastings, we're establishing a new will, power of attorney, and healthcare directives. Your daughter has explained your situation, and I've structured everything to ensure your care needs are met. Below them, in Frank's workshop, Arthur Chen positioned himself beneath the heating grate with both recorders running. The reel-to-reel spun silently, capturing everything. His digital phone provided backup, redundancy the way he'd learned in 40 years of court reporting. Through the grate, he heard every word with crystalline clarity. Barbara stared at the signature lines, her hand trembling around the pen Jennifer had placed in her fingers. The room felt inevitable. Craig's tall presence physically intimidating. Dr. Marsh indifferent. Preston ethically compromised but procedurally correct. "Just sign where I've marked, Mrs. Hastings," Preston said, his voice professionally gentle. "Then we can get everything filed properly." Jennifer leaned close to her mother, her voice carrying that same loud, infantilizing tone. "Mom, we're updating your will. Michael won't be bothering you anymore. He's not getting anything. It's all taken care of. Just sign." Barbara looked at the documents. New will, everything to Jennifer. Michael explicitly disinherited. Power of attorney, Jennifer's complete control. Healthcare directives, Jennifer decides everything. "Sign, Mom." Jennifer's patience was fraying. "Then we can get you somewhere they'll take proper care of you. You're not competent to live alone anyway. We've been too patient already." Barbara's hand hovered over the signature line. The pen felt impossibly heavy. Then, clearly, she said, "No." The room froze. Preston looked up from his papers. Craig's expression shifted from confidence to concern. Dr. Marsh suddenly paid attention. "Mom, don't be difficult." Jennifer's mask cracked, revealing something sharp underneath. "Sign the papers." "No." Barbara's voice strengthened. "I won't sign anything. I know what you did to my mother. I know what you're doing to me." Jennifer reached for the pen, her hand closing over Barbara's wrist. Not gentle, not daughterly. And in that moment, Mateo appeared in the sunroom doorway, his timing perfect. Beside him stood Arthur Chen, holding Frank's Purple Heart case-like evidence. And next to Arthur, 3 years of absence ending in a single moment. Michael Hastings, Barbara's son, come home at last. Jennifer's hand released Barbara's wrist. The pen clattered onto the unsigned documents. And from the workshop below, through speakers Arthur had positioned, Jennifer's own voice played back. "You're not competent to live alone anyway. We've been too patient already." The room that Jennifer thought was quiet had been listening all along. The room shattered like glass. Jennifer's hand froze mid-reach toward the pen. Her fingers curled into claws above Barbara's trembling wrist. Preston Ward's leather briefcase hit the floor with a sound like a gavel. Craig Morrison went rigid, his physician's authority crumbling as he calculated exposure, liability, the fragility of his medical license. "Everything you've said," Arthur Chen announced from the doorway, his voice carrying the weight of 40 years documenting testimony, "has been recorded." He held Frank's Purple Heart case like evidence at trial. Beside him, Mateo stood with the quiet strength of someone who'd already lost everything and found he had nothing left to fear. And Michael, Barbara's son, 3 years of forced absence ending in this single moment, stepped forward into the sunlight. Jennifer recovered first. She always did. "This is absurd. Mom's confused. You're trespassing, and I'm calling..." Arthur set a small speaker on the table. Jennifer's voice poured out, patronizing and cruel. "You're not competent to live alone anyway. We've been too patient already." The recording continued. Every threat, every manipulation, 30 minutes of coercion captured in Frank's workshop directly below, where acoustics carried voices through the heating grate like confessions in a church. Preston Ward gathered his papers with shaking hands. I was told she had severe dementia. I can't be party to... He fled, expensive shoes hammering down the hallway, the front door slamming behind him. Craig's colleague followed immediately, self-preservation overriding loyalty that had never existed anyway. Craig himself hesitated, calculating whether to bluff or run. Jennifer made the choice for him, her voice sharp. Craig, get the car. Actually, Michael said, pulling out his phone with deliberate calm, there's someone who wants to speak with you first. He held it toward Jennifer. Through the speaker, Detective Sarah Chen's voice emerged. Professional, implacable. Ms. Morrison, this is the Elder Abuse Unit. We need to discuss your mother's care, her medications, and your access to her accounts. You have the right to an attorney. Jennifer's face went white, then red, cycling through rage and fear before settling into something harder. Calculation. She'd talked her way out of grandmother's embezzlement. She could navigate this too. But Barbara spoke, her voice quiet and absolute. Leave my house. Not a scream, not an accusation, just exhaustion transformed into boundary. Today, Barbara continued, meeting her daughter's eyes without flinching. Now. Mateo moved to Barbara's side, ready to help her stand, to walk her away from this final confrontation. Arthur remained in the doorway, recording device still running, making sure every word had witness. Jennifer opened her mouth, to argue, to threaten, to deploy the weapons she'd sharpened over decades, then closed it. She left in silence, Craig following, their footsteps echoing through the house Frank had built, the home Jennifer had tried to steal. The door closed. Above them, autumn light filtered through lace curtains onto unsigned papers, evidence of an inheritance Jennifer would never claim. Barbara slept like the dead, and for 4 hours Mateo watched her breathe. Not the pharmaceutical unconsciousness Jennifer had forced. No chemical flatline, no drugged erasure. Natural sleep, REM cycles visible beneath her eyelids, her body finally trusting rest again. He checked her pulse every 30 minutes anyway, unable to stop his caregiver's vigilance even though the threat had left. Michael sat in Frank's old chair by the window, staring at the street where his sister's car had disappeared. His hands kept opening and closing around nothing, as if he'd been holding something heavy for years and couldn't quite believe he'd been allowed to set it down. I should have fought harder, he said finally. When she cut me off. When she had me removed from Dad's funeral. I should have... You're here now. Arthur appeared with tea, moving through the house with the ease of decades of friendship. That matters. Thursday evening arrived in soft light. Barbara woke disoriented, reaching automatically for pills that weren't there, then remembering. Her eyes found Mateo first, safety, protection, then traveled to Michael. Something in her face broke and reformed simultaneously. Michael, you're really here. He crossed to her bedside, this middle-aged man reduced to uncertain boy in his mother's presence. Years of Jennifer's lies sat between them, like furniture they'd have to move carefully, piece by piece. I'm so sorry, Mom, for believing her, for not... I'm the one who should apologize. Barbara's voice cracked. I let her drive you away. I chose peace over truth, and you paid the price. They didn't embrace. Not yet. But Michael pulled the chair closer, and Barbara reached for his hand. And they sat in the complicated silence of people learning to forgive themselves as much as each other. Arthur made dinner, Marie's chicken soup, the recipe that had started everything. And they gathered in the kitchen. 4 people who'd been strangers a week ago, now bound by crisis and survival. The conversation was awkward, careful, punctuated by long silences. But it was real. Friday brought Detective Chen, professional and compassionate, taking Barbara's statement with the patience of someone who understood trauma, didn't follow neat timelines. They discussed prosecution. Michael wanted Jennifer charged with everything: elder abuse, financial exploitation, fraud. Barbara just looked tired. "I don't want revenge," she said. "I want it to stop." They compromised. Jennifer would sign a document relinquishing all claims to Barbara's estate, agreeing to permanent no contact or face criminal charges. Craig would receive a medical board complaint. Not perfect justice, but accountability. Friday afternoon, Mateo's precarious legal status surfaced. His employment had been questionable from the start, his visa status threatened. Barbara met his eyes across the kitchen table. "Then we fix it properly. You saved my life, Mateo. Let me help save yours." Michael pulled out legal pads, already researching work sponsorship requirements. Outside, autumn deepened toward winter. But inside Frank's house, something new was growing. Fragile, determined, real. Friday evening settled over the Tudor house like a cautious breath. Barbara sat at the kitchen table, Michael's legal pad covered in notes about work visa sponsorship, while Mateo washed dishes with the careful attention he gave everything, as if proximity to normal tasks could steady the ground that had shifted beneath them all. "We'll file properly," Michael said, his paralegal training evident in the organized checklist. Direct employment, fair wages, legitimate documentation. No more vulnerabilities Jennifer can exploit. Mateo's hands stilled in the soapy water. "You don't have to." "Yes, we do." Barbara's voice carried quiet certainty. "You saved my life, Mateo. Let me help save yours." Saturday morning found Barbara and Arthur in Frank's workshop, surrounded by 40 years of meticulous documentation. Color-coded notebooks lined the shelves. Blue for household repairs, green for finances, red for problems Frank had documented, but Barbara had refused to prosecute. Arthur ran his fingers along the spines with something like reverence. "These saved you. Frank's obsessive record-keeping became your lifeline. I used to tease him about it." Barbara's voice cracked. "Called him my engineer with his systems and labels. Now," she touched a red notebook, Frank's precise handwriting documenting Jennifer's embezzlement. "He knew I wouldn't act, so he built protection that would outlast him." "What if others could do the same?" Arthur asked. "Not everyone has a Frank, but we could teach them documentation, evidence, how to build their own protection." Barbara looked around the workshop. Recording equipment, organized files, decades of careful observation. An idea took shape like morning light through dusty windows. By Sunday, they'd assembled around Frank's workbench. Barbara, Michael, Arthur, and Mateo, researching elder abuse statistics that made Michael's jaw tighten with professional fury. "Epidemic," he said, reading from his laptop. "Hidden. Most victims isolated. No support network, no evidence. They become invisible." "Frank's workshop," Barbara said suddenly. The name felt right, honoring the man whose preparation had saved her. "We transform this space." Weekly gatherings where vulnerable seniors learn to document their lives, understand their rights, build community support. Arthur nodded, already planning. "I can teach documentation techniques. Court reporting gave me 40 years of evidence-building experience. I can explain medication management," Mateo offered. "Warning signs of oversedation, how to verify prescriptions. And I'll cover legal framework," Michael added. Undue influence, power of attorney, how to find pro bono help. Barbara stood, touching the workbench where Frank had spent countless hours protecting her from a distance. Not therapy. Practical tools. We teach people to save themselves. They worked through Sunday afternoon, clearing space, organizing materials, planning curriculum. The workshop that had housed Frank's surveillance equipment transformed into something more generous. A place where documentation served protection instead of secrets. Where community replaced isolation. Monday, Arthur began spreading word through his senior center. Barbara reconnected with neighbors Jennifer had systematically cut off. Michael researched legal aid resources. Mateo created simple medication tracking sheets in both English and Spanish. Frank's workshop would open Saturday. 5 people had already called, desperate and hopeful, asking if there was really a place that taught survival. Saturday arrived with October sunlight and nervous energy. Barbara arranged Frank's old chairs in a circle while Mateo set up coffee and Arthur tested the recording equipment one final time. Not for surveillance now, but to document their teaching for those who couldn't attend. Michael organized legal handouts at the workbench where Frank had once cataloged Jennifer's crimes. Full circle, Barbara thought. Redemption built from documentation. They arrived tentatively. Gladys, 76, suspecting her nephew forged checks. Robert, 82, whose daughter-in-law controlled his medications. Helen, 69, pressured to sell her house. 2 others who gave only first names, afraid even here. "Thank you for coming," Barbara began, her voice steady despite trembling hands. "I know it's frightening to admit you need help. 6 weeks ago, I was being drugged by my own daughter, unable to speak for myself. These 3 men saved my life, and they can teach you to save yours." She didn't sugarcoat, didn't offer false comfort, just truth. Arthur demonstrated basic documentation. Photograph bank statements monthly, keep journals with dates and times, understand what you're signing before any signature. His court reporter precision made complex procedures accessible. Mateo explained medication management with the gentleness Lola had taught him. Count your pills, know their names. If you feel suddenly confused or drowsy, that's not necessarily dementia. It might be oversedation. You have the right to question any prescription. Robert's hand shot up. "But my daughter-in-law is a nurse. She says I'm too confused to understand." "Medical credentials don't erase your rights," Michael interrupted firmly. "Undue influence is illegal regardless of who's committing it. You're entitled to independent medical review, second opinions, and clear explanations of any treatment." For 2 hours, they worked through scenarios. Gladys learned to open a separate bank account her nephew couldn't access. Robert committed to requesting medication review from an independent physician. Helen found courage to contact a real estate attorney before signing anything. As they prepared to leave, something had shifted. They exchanged phone numbers, creating a support network. Arthur noticed they walked differently, not just burdened, but purposeful. Gladys paused at the door, gripping Barbara's hand. "You really think we can protect ourselves?" "I know you can." Barbara squeezed back. "Because 6 weeks ago, I couldn't. And now I'm standing here teaching others. Documentation gives you power when you're most vulnerable. Community gives you witness when you're most alone." After they left, the 4 of them sat in the workshop's lengthening shadows. Barbara touched Frank's workbench, her voice barely whisper, "We're doing good work here, love. Your notebooks are still saving lives." Spring arrived like forgiveness, gradual, inevitable, transforming the Tudor house from fortress back into home. Barbara stood at her kitchen window, watching tulips push through soil in beds she'd planted with Frank 30 years ago. Her hands wrapped around coffee made exactly the way he'd taught her. 3/4 full, room for milk, heated 90 seconds. The ritual steadied her on mornings when grief still ambushed without warning. Michael's car pulled into the driveway at 11, their Sunday routine established through months of careful rebuilding. He brought bagels from the bakery she loved, and they sat at the table where they'd first started talking again, haltingly, painfully honest, 6 months ago. "Workshop's got 32 regulars now," Michael said, spreading cream cheese with the methodical attention he brought to everything. "Arthur's teaching advanced documentation techniques. Mateo added a session on recognizing medication interactions." Barbara smiled. Mateo had enrolled in nursing school in January, his work visa properly sponsored, his basement apartment transformed from employment arrangement into family space. He studied at Frank's old desk, surrounded by the notebooks that had saved them all. "And you?" she asked. 3 new pro bono cases through workshop referrals. Michael's professional pride warred with older wounds, years of being the overlooked child, the scapegoated son. They were learning to acknowledge both realities simultaneously. What Jennifer had destroyed and what they were rebuilding. Thursday evening brought the week's second workshop session. Barbara arrived early, arranging chairs in the circle Arthur preferred. No hierarchy, just community. The heating grate above them carried sounds from the sunroom where Jennifer had once tried to steal everything. Now, it connected to hope instead of surveillance. Attendees filed in. Gladys, whose separate bank account had protected her savings. Robert, whose medication review revealed dangerous oversedation. Helen, whose real estate attorney had stopped a coerced home sale. And new faces. Always new faces. Because elder abuse was epidemic, and most victims had no Arthur, no Mateo, no evidence. Tonight's newcomer arrived last, trembling and apologetic. "My son wants me to sign guardianship papers. Says I can't manage anymore. But her voice broke. "I'm not confused. I'm just afraid." Barbara crossed to her, decades of social observation, recognizing fear disguised as shame. "We understand. You're not alone anymore." They gathered around Frank's workbench. Arthur distributed documentation templates. Mateo explained medication verification. Michael outlined legal protections against undue influence. And Barbara shared her story, not for pity, but as evidence that reclaiming your voice was possible. As the session ended and the woman left with a safety plan and phone numbers for support, Barbara remained in the workshop. Frank's tools hung on pegboards he'd labeled with engineer's precision. His notebooks lined shelves like sentinels. His presence filled the space, not with haunting, but with purpose. She touched the workbench where he documented everything, building protection that outlasted death. "We're doing good work here, love," she whispered. "Your notebooks are still saving lives." Outside, spring deepened into evening. Inside Frank's workshop, this chosen family assembled from strangers who'd refused to look away. The careful work of helping people reclaim their dignity continued. Sometimes salvation looked like documentation. Sometimes it looked like soup and Morse code. Sometimes it looked like refusing to stay silent when speaking could save someone. Always, it looked like love.